Welcome back to the Bentonville Beacon podcast, where we're sharing stories and advice from the entrepreneurs, business executives, and community leaders sparking the rise of the greater Bentonville area, representing one of the fastest growing and most dynamic cities and economies in the United States, nestled in the Ozark Mountains of Northwest Arkansas in the heartland of America. Hey, I'm your host, James Bell, and I am very excited to introduce the next two episodes of the Bentonville Beacon, where we're going to host the entrepreneurs and founders from the current Fuel cohort. And here to help me with that introduction are two of Fuel's leaders, Darian Harris, who is director of the program, and Tom Douglas, who's the entrepreneur in residence. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for letting us be here.
Thanks for having us.
You bet. Well, will you share with the audience what Fuel is all about?
Yeah, sure. Happy to do that. Fuel's cohort's been around for 6 years now. We've had a lot of fun bringing in really aggressive startup companies that are fit quite well into not only the area, but into the strategies of all the enterprise companies we have in the area. And of course, with Tyson, Walmart, JB Hunt, ArcBest, et cetera, there's a lot of different needs that those companies have. And we really enjoy bringing in companies that can fit those needs.
That's great. I've heard of a few of those companies. Pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah. Well, the great thing too is we don't take equity or a fee for that. So these companies get to come to town and actually, for free, learn everything that we have to offer and get mentored by some of the largest companies in the world.
Well, that's exciting, and that's a real differentiator. So, Darian, there are a ton of accelerators out there. In fact, we have close to a dozen here in Bentonville. Will you share out how else Fuel is different from other accelerators?
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, I just want to say that I've done several different things throughout my career and have loved being a part of Fuel and working with Tom. And so I just want to throw that out there. But what really makes Fuel different, I think, is, as he mentioned, no equity, no cost to attend, which I think is a big part of that, especially when you think about the scale of which the enterprises that we work with. But we really pride ourselves on being an operational cohort, not an idea cohort. So we're not taking companies that are at the idea stage that looking to get from 0 to 1. We're really here to help companies get from 1 to 100. We're really focused on the B2B world. So we're helping those companies get those enterprise relationships. And a lot of times, early in a company's roadmap or throughout their journey, they are spending time with some small businesses, the mid-sized businesses, and they haven't gotten that first big enterprise customer yet. And it's in a completely different animal. It's a different language. It's different everything. And so the opportunity to spend time with the Fuel cohort, the other companies, and Tom's leadership as well, gives them the opportunity to learn how to sell to an enterprise and build the relationships with key stakeholders. Because in the enterprise world, people buy from who they like and who they know. And so that is what I think really is the differentiator beyond just the no cost and no equity.
Cool. So what I'm hearing is you're creating operational value and you're helping them get the form of cash that matters most, revenue.
That's right.
I like that.
Cash is king.
You bet. Tom, will you talk, a few cycles ago, Fuel pivoted to AI. So would you like to talk about that history and how in the world you put yourselves in a position to hit it out of the park at a time when the world has come to know AI as a commonplace thing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we have a lot of great relationships with the enterprise sponsors, and one of the things I like to talk with the cohorts about and with the enterprises about is what does the white space in the strategy look like? And so back a few years ago, as we were having these conversations with the enterprises, we found that they were kind of concerned about what this AI ML thing was. And some of them didn't even know how to spell it, frankly. But as they started to investigate, they found that was a white space in their strategy. They knew it was going to have to happen, but they didn't know what it was going to be used for and how it was going to be used. Well, anytime you see an opportunity like that, you have to take advantage of it. So we pivoted from strictly supply chain to AI/ML, which can include supply chain and pretty much anything else that you want to talk about, as you well know, and felt that was really important to the area as well as to the industries that we deal with. So it was exciting. It's great not to have to define it anymore when people ask, but it's still a huge piece of what the future is going to look like. And so we're pretty excited to be a part of that and to be promoting it here in Northwest Arkansas.
Oh, that's pretty exciting. And not to cloud the AI part, AI and ML part any, but you launched another accelerator as well. Will you talk about that real quick?
Yeah. So another thing that we found as we were talking not only to the enterprises, but to the community at large was that health is becoming a huge part of Northwest Arkansas. I mean, there's just no denying it. Healthcare here in Northwest Arkansas is really going to be pivotal. From the ability to test new things, the ability to look at new ways of caring, new ways of new equipment, and new ways of looking at rehab, all sorts of things like that. And so we felt that with everything that's going on with health, medicine, payers, hospitals and patients, that it was important for us to take a stand and do some healthcare things that would help the area. And it was an amazing response. And I know you were there, but we had so many people show up to the demo day for health that we were pleasantly surprised. And there's a whole lot of energy behind it now. We already have companies that are thinking of coming here for the next cohort, and they haven't even interviewed yet. They're just calling us and saying, "Hey, we're coming." So that's great. And you know, healthcare is not only a Northwest Arkansas opportunity, it's a global opportunity. And that's what's great about this is it fits into our curriculum perfectly because we tend to invite everybody from around the globe and get those people in. And this is just something that's really exciting.
Perfectly stated. You know, Bentonville is a place where I feel like we have the opportunity to change the world. You know, when Walmart and J.B. Hunt and Tyson came along 61 years ago in a place where it was probably pretty unexpected, they changed the world. And we're looking now in several different sectors where Bentonville's evolving, and this is one of them. Where I do believe this will be the ground zero for changing the world.
One of the best quotes that I had as we were talking through this with providers and payers was that we feel like Northwest Arkansas can be the gateway for healthcare technology into the U.S. And of course, you know, being where we're located and being in the Midwest, that's true. Every time something big comes along, you usually find it starts in the Midwest and spreads to the coast.
That is true. Well said.
And there's just so much momentum between AI and in healthcare. And so I think having the opportunity to be at the center of all those things that are going on is honestly a blast.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. And we've got companies that have come in from literally all over the world and gotten to see, you know, I think, you know, we had a group from Portugal that this was their first time in America, was coming to Arkansas. And they were like, I had never heard of it. But now they're, you know, they saw what we see here. And so I think being a part of that momentum it's going to take us really far.
And the energy these people bring when they come to town is amazing. I mean, you get up in the morning and they know it's either the lion or the antelope. Either way, you get up in the morning, you better be running.
Absolutely. And especially around here. So in a good way. Darian, last question. You get the honor of answering the hashtag Because Bentonville question. That is, tell me a story about something that happened where you look back at it and you think, you know what, that could only happen in Bentonville.
Dom already knows where I'm going with this, so he's already laughing. But this is kind of a fun story. So one of the things that we do with the cohort is, you know, a lot of business things happening, a lot of great things happening, but we also like to have fun. And so we go out and, you know, we get a lot of meals together and do a lot of things. And I enjoy getting to spend that time and be a part of those founders' journeys. And so we like to have fun. And one of the people in the cohort loves to ride bikes, and he rides on the road. It's completely road biking, never been off the road. And I thought, you know, this is like the mountain bike capital of the world. You need to go mountain biking. And so I said, hey, everyone come with me. And so I took a whole group out mountain biking. We went over to Kohler. And I was like, this is one of the best places. And I'm telling them all these things. I'm showing them around. And we go up to Thunderdome, which is one of the one of the larger jumps. And so I take it first because I'm leading the group. I take it first, and I end up going down, making a jump, coming down, landing wrong, flying over the front of the handlebars.
Been there.
Completely. I was wearing my helmet. was wearing my helmet. My wife will be glad I was, but cut up my whole body really bad and end up not knowing what else I hurt. And I got up. I said, I think I'm relatively unscathed. I think that's not so bad. I said, it's all surface level. And then I got home, and a couple hours goes by, and the adrenaline wears off, and I was like, man, I can't breathe that well.
Oh,
and I'm like, I don't think this is good. And so I ended up getting X-rays and had fractured my ribs. And so, and then, after I fell, everyone in the cohort that's out there with us is like, man, what are you doing? Are you okay? What's happening? And I'm like, no, it's okay. I think I'm okay. Part of mountain biking. They're like, what were you thinking? And I said, well, it's actually my first time mountain biking. I had never been. I had never mountain biked, but they thought because I knew where I was going and all this that I was the mountain bike guy. And so no one else took that trip down Thunderdome after that, and we headed home. And several of them haven't been back out. But I tried to explain to them that it's part of mountain biking. It's part of it. And you hear those stories all the time. But I think it's a fun story of getting out, trying something new. And I feel like this is my second cohort. Every cohort, I get to try different things and learn new cultures and do different things that I haven't in the past. And I think that's one of the things that there's so much to do in Bentonville, especially outdoors. I love to hike and do different things outdoors, but never been mountain biking. And honestly, even though that happened, now that I'm getting better, this was several weeks ago, I'll definitely go again. And I think the beauty of the trails and all the different opportunities that we have, and we can ride right from the Ledger building where we work, right from the Ledger building to probably hundreds of miles of mountain bike trails. And so I think that's one of the beautiful things about the nature that we have around here.
Gosh, Darian, Darian says, I've never been before. Let's go do Drop the Hammer. No, I hope not. Well, congratulations. You got the broken bones out of the way. Now you can actually enjoy the sport.
Exactly.
Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time with me. Let's get on with it and talk with some of these entrepreneurs. Let's hear about Fuel. Let me introduce you to Somya Munjal, who is the founder and CEO of Youthful Savings, which is based in New York.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming on.
Pleasure.
Somya, will you share with our audience whatever it is that you would like them to know about you?
Personally?
Yeah. And professionally? Either one.
Yeah. Well, I guess as a human, I'm very interested in economic change. And so just anything that's like economic related or geopolitical related always thirsts me. And so it's been really fun to start a company that I think can create change in both avenues, both on how humans are governed, but then also how humans transact, which I think is economics.
Yeah, you bet. Well, share with us then about Youthful Savings. What is it? Who do you serve? And what problem are you solving for them? And then how do you serve them? How are you solving the problem?
Thank you. So we've been working on this for about a decade, really thinking about why the wealth gap was so big and why America just gets ignored. Like, why do American issues are not as prevalent as maybe international issues, and what's going on? So I used to work at Walmart, and so I left Walmart to go be in DC. And so that's where I really realized that there are a lot of issues that public servants weren't solving. Sure. And so I thought, what would it look like if a company did that work, right? And if we trained humans to be better and to transact better and to create better economic opportunities, we can create change. So I fell into education to create that change, to really fell in love with kids and just think that there's a lot that you can do with young people and young brains if you bring them together. So what we came to create was a tech-powered learning ecosystem really dedicated to socioeconomic empowerment, which we define as mental well-being, economic empowerment, and community development. And Gen Z, which is who we serve, is 41% of the world's population, or 3.3 billion people. So think about all the different issues that you want to solve. If you brought them together and had them be the change agents, like, the world could be a better place. And so really focusing on that and creating the right kind of tools is what we're about.
That's cool. I mean, like, you're singing my song here. First of all, anytime private enterprise can solve a problem, it's probably going to be better than the government doing it. You've got this huge Gen Z population. If you can help them be financially healthy, that means they can be healthy in a lot of other areas of their life. That spills over to social health, to health, right? Just to being healthy altogether. So I commend you for going after these problems and solving them.
Thank you. But I don't think it's me. I think it's the young people
Sure.
that will be the ones that solve these issues.
Yeah,
For
you
our
bet.
job and our team's job is just to give them the systems and the tools that can provide that.
You're making it possible. So talk about your experiences then with Fuel. What did you expect out of the program, and what's the experience actually been?
It's been awesome. So I actually really wanted to be a part of this program. So asked Tom about it, but it was really just because I used to live in Bentonville and I used to live in Arkansas, and post Arkansas, I lived in LA and I grew up in Chicago and New York now for the past 10 years. And I just really thought back to when did I meet the most sincere people. And I just think sincerity and humility is such an awesome combination. And then if you combine that with productivity, that's what we needed in this next phase of Youthful Savings. And so being back here in this ecosystem that just, I think, has a plethora of knowledge and resources, really utilizing, lack of a better word, no pun intended, but that fuel, right?
Yeah.
To then grow this into the next big company, right? So I wanted to come back here and really figure out how we could lead and grow this correctly. And so that's been the best experience, just learning from the people and just figuring out what kind of processes do we need. When you're trying to grow a company and you're in that growth phase, it's really about sticking with your values and your culture, but then also having the right processes in place so that things get done. So because we have such a big mission that we're trying to solve. And so the better we are as a team, the more that we can solve it. So it's been very humbling and grounding to be here.
Awesome. Well, I love hearing that. Whether it's a community or a company, the people are what fuels everything.
Absolutely.
And so, let's dive more then into Bentonville. What I'd love to know from you is, since you were here before and you're here now, what's the change? You left, you went away, you came back, and you looked around. What was your first thought? What did you think about Bentonville and the way it had evolved?
Well, you made a comment when you came to Fuel, and I kind of laughed. But it was, Bentonville's turning into a New York. It has a cosmopolitan feel to it. And I kind of laughed at it, but I actually do see it now. And I think when I left in 2012 is when Crystal Bridges just opened their doors. And I really think art is a very powerful tool for innovation and creativity. And I think the influx of art everywhere, whether it's Oz art or, everywhere, I think that is really going to bring that, those creative minds to this area and really provide an opportunity of growth. And I see that. And I think that's been the biggest change in just everything that Rope Swing is doing with Blake Street, some of these Preacher's Son, we went there yesterday. I just think that, that there's this really cool scene now that maybe didn't exist. I used to have to go to Fayetteville. Every weekend I was in Fayetteville and we were dry that, so I think it's really changed. And I think it's going to bring a lot of young talent here.
Yeah, I think you're right, though. I mean, it has maybe not as many, as great a quantity as, but it has all the amenities that you find in big cities.
Yeah.
And I think what I referred to specifically when I was talking with y'all, with respect to New York was, I don't know where else you would find this combination of companies. You have Fortune 1, then you have 2 other Fortune 500s, within 10 miles of here, that grew up together at the same time. You have 1,600 brands to Walmart here. You still have this vast small business ecosystem that still 95+% of the businesses here employ fewer than 100 employees. And then you have this robust startup ecosystem that's happening in this space, but in several sectors. I don't know where else you would find a combination like that. And then you add on to it the things that you can do here, and then add to that the special treat of the outdoors. And I think we have an ecosystem that you just won't find other places.
Yeah. With, I think, a layer of just community values that is something that is really dear to my heart. I just think being good in your community is really important. And I think the more healthy that I am, the better work we can do with Youthful Savings. And so it's so important to be in a community environment for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I have one last question for you. And that's your hashtag because Bentonville story. What I'd love to hear from you is something that happened where you look back at it and you think, you know what, maybe that can only happen in Bentonville, or it describes this place.
So somebody that is a personal hero of mine, just because I think we're so passionate about not hoarding resources. I think humans have a tendency to hoard a bunch of stuff. And that's what are you going to do with it when you pass away, right? Why not just try to give more? And I think that I always looked up to Alice Walton. Being in New York, I have a pretty extensive experience in the art world. And we always looked up to Alice and what she's doing in the art world and how she's changing it, not like a typical dealer or collector. Yeah. And so I recently ran into her at Blake Street, and it was just awesome. And she was just, walking out by herself and super nice, and was looking at all the art inside Blake Street. And I just thought it was really cool, because here's somebody that's on the cover of Forbes magazine right now, but is also just chilling at Blake Street and being really nice to everybody. So I think that would only happen in Bentonville. You'd have to come to Bentonville to see that.
Exactly. I love Alice Walton encounters. I love seeing her at the neighborhood market, scanning herself out, or at Onyx, standing in line for her copy. She doesn't have to do that.
Right. But immediately after that, I listened to her podcast to find out more about her. And I just really admire her ability to create ecosystem change. Like, I know she's creating change in the healthcare industry. And I just think that because she flushes so much capital into things, she can create systemic change. And so it's something that I definitely look up to.
Yeah. Same here. I mean, everything she's doing in art, you mentioned healthcare, and I'll flip it over, call it wellness and healthcare, or wellness and sick care, because that's what we usually mean when we say healthcare.
Right.
And that's my industry background. And I am so excited for what she's doing. And if anybody can affect change, she's going to do it. And we could spend 2 hours or more on a podcast, and I could probably do a whole monologue on that. So I'll stop there.
You'll have to get her on the podcast.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
I can work on that for you.
Well, the 100th episode is coming up soon.
Nice.
So if you're out there listening, maybe
I'll make an intro.
You can be the guest.
I literally just met somebody that manages her, so I'll get you an intro.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Somya, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys.
Hey, let me introduce you to two of the leaders of Retail Aware, which is based in Omaha and Chicago. I'll introduce you first to Keith Fix, who is the co-founder and CEO, and Brent Blecha, who is the VP of Operations. Gents, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Well, let's start with a really easy question. What should the Bentonville Beacon audience know about you two guys?
Personally or professionally?
Either way, they love to know about the person that they're speaking with. But yeah,
I do have
and personally. That's
I was going to say, so, I'll kind of, on the personal level, I think my biggest fun fact, I've actually never had a Big Mac. That's what? Like that. I've never had one. Don't ever have one.
I
know it's all downhill from here.
That's right.
And then professionally, I have grown up in the retail space. I started my career working for an apparel retailer, building out CRM back in the day when no one knew what CRM was, or we had no idea what that was. And then and have just gone on and have gone on doing signage integration. And one thing led to another. It was unintentionally brought to the path that led to Retail Aware. So.
Excellent.
Pretty fun times.
Yeah. I have a very different journey. I grew up in the database marketing space, doing database analytics, working with large retail brands and whatnot. I did that for about a decade. And then I took the opportunity to do something completely different. And that was sell all my stuff, buy a sailboat, fix it up, and go sail the Caribbean for about 5 years. And 2 years, almost to the day now, Keith approached me again and said, hey, we need some help building out people, processes, and product. How do you feel about joining Retail Aware? And it's something I was always excited about. He's actually working with some of the same companies I worked for in my previous life. And so coming back, I knew I didn't want to join a large corporation. I didn't appreciate the red tape and bureaucracy. And so joining a small company where I could wear many different hats and really feel like I was driving some of the innovation and working with a great team was important to me. So been with Retail Aware now for 2 years, and it's been a heck of a journey.
So cool. I want to come back and talk about Retail Aware, but I remember that first conversation when we met and you mentioned getting a sailboat and going to sell. I need to know how you arrive at that conclusion and decide to take your family for that journey.
Yeah. So, well, one, there's no family involved.
Okay,
like no pets, no.
Yeah. Okay. You didn't
not
have to
even
drag anybody with
you. It was just me. But really, it felt like the right decision for me at the time. I'd cut my teeth for 10 years, and we'd been bought out by private equity for my former organization, and so it was good timing for one. But I also lost a really good friend of mine to cancer, and so the volume of work had been turned down. And so it was, what do you really want to do? What do you love to do? And so I love to experience life and culture. And so I took a little bit of a sabbatical. I went to Africa and I spent some time in particular in Zimbabwe. So I came back and I lost a good friend of mine to cancer. So life's short. And then I see these people in Zimbabwe that are happier, arguably happier than I am, with money and means that I would maybe never use. And so what did I want to do? I wanted to travel full time. I wanted to experience culture. I just didn't have a good way to do it to make it sustainable. So I'm a kid from Nebraska. I bought Sailing for Dummies off one of Walmart's competitor sites, had it sent to me, and read it cover to cover. I started checking out everything I could in the library that it referenced to learn to sail. And then I tried my hand at it, and not everything went right at first, but it was a great experience.
That is so cool. You should meet, if you haven't met Joel Somweber from Rev Unit here. You should meet him and learn about his selling stories.
Okay.
Courtney Barrett, who's at Walmart. I know that she has a similar story. When I first got here, I don't think I met her in person for quite a while. She and her family were off selling somewhere, but those are cool stories. I love it.
All right.
Tell me about Retail Aware. Who do you serve? What's the problem that you're solving for them? And how do you do that?
Yeah, I'll start kind of at the top. Retail Aware really is focused on, we work with, we started in our roots working with brands, suppliers, I guess, in this world, helping unlock first-party data from product displays in stores. So we were really trying to understand, how do we in real time understand shopper behavior and product movement in a way that's accessible, easy to implement, and allows me to improve the returns of these investments that I'm making in these in-store programs, as well as solve for some of the biggest problems facing retail: out of stocks, on shelf availability, right? Those top of mind challenges. So we really started with, one brand. We started with a brand placing, freezers in stores and trying to understand what's the impact of those. And we've just expanded and grown from there.
Yeah. No, I think one of the key things we do at Retail Aware, coming from a database company where we monitored analytics and looked into modeling and some of these things, is it was so hard for these retail brands that we worked with to find that actionable insight. And so everybody's probably heard about analysis paralysis, and that's something that really does happen. No change is made when you present information. What Retail Aware provides is something actionable, that's immediate, that's near real time, that they can make a change today, we can implement very quickly, and they can see their revenues and profits rise or quit losing out on opportunity costs lost.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a bigger, the overarching issue is just this gap that exists. And, we lived in this world where you would deploy something into a store and then you'd wait for the results, right? And you don't know if you made the right decision. You want to, what can we do to improve the odds of that? And one of the biggest gaps we found was just the data at the shelf was very limited. And it was very limited for a brand perspective. And if you're a brand trying to partner with your retailers to design out programs that are successful, it's really critical you understand that moment of truth. I liken it, similar to, what makes e-commerce so great is that we see that entire shopper journey, right? And we get such detailed analysis, and you can see abandoned carts and you can see conversion rate. And these things just historically have been impossible to get at retail. And so, in the physical store. And so that was really the problem we started chasing. And we worked with, our early clients, and we found, there's a whole cohort. This is pretty synonymous. And, there's also retailers themselves that are looking to really kind of understand what is happening at my shelf.
Cool. Well, I mean, there are a few brands around here, about 1,600 of them. And of course, the big giant in the room, the headquarters of Walmart, is here as well. But and many of these connect into Fuel. So will you talk about your experiences with Fuel? What did you expect when you came to Fuel? And then what did you get out of the program? What was your experience in the program?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say I love being part of this AI ML cohort. This is so the timing is just so right for the space. I think everyone is looking at what are the investments we have to make now, as we progress with, AI being implemented in enterprise years from now, right? What does that look like? And it's really cool being on the data generation side of the house, because I think we're one of the few companies that are focused on actually, generating the data and the training data that these tools and systems will need in the future. And so it was great to come down here and find a cohort of like-minded, really cool people to say the least, and just impressive, practitioners in the space. And also Bentonville has just been so fun. And it's been a little bit of a surprise in terms of the community aspect of it, and being able to, the ability to be able to do business here and connect with folks, I think on a personal level as well as just on an accessibility level, has been great. So I think that tied with, the entire Fuel team has put on some really great, they made great connections, gone to bat for us, and the programming's great and the people are great. It's been a good experience for me. I don't know if you had to add anything.
No, I 100% agree. I think the first thing you recognize being in Bentonville is how nice people are, how great they are. Very welcoming. I think you can stand in line at the neighborhood Walmart and you could know somebody's life story just standing in line, where I feel like in a New York or San Francisco or Chicago, you might go months without knowing if they have any siblings. Or, it's just a totally different, a totally different place. And then the peer-to-peer learning that occurs in that cohort room, the people that you're in there with, the things that they're doing inside of machine learning, inside of artificial intelligence, I don't feel like I should be in that room. They're just so smart. They're off the charts. These businesses that they're creating, and the way they talk about how they treat their employees and how valuable their clients are to them. I give Tom and Darian and Grace all the kudos in the world for filling that room with really great people.
There are some amazing people that come through the program and they put up in front of you, and you absolutely deserve to be in that room. They were, in a similar spot at some point in their life, and who better to learn from than these folks, right? You mentioned Bentonville. Talk about your experiences in Bentonville, maybe some of the stuff you had the opportunity to do here. It can't all be work, so you had to have some play. What's your Bentonville experience been like?
Well, I think I've made it to the trail once.
Okay.
Once or twice, I want to say. Unfortunately, no limbs have been lost. And
that's good.
In my experience, but going out, I'm active. I love so I love cycling. Mountain biking is a new area. A new area for me. So just being out here and hearing just the legends of the trails, and seeing it has just, firsthand has been so much fun, as well as just, it's great. I usually, having stayed by the main street downtown area, being able to walk, being able to walk and catch a meal or, grab an ice cream or something is just always fun. I don't think I've had a bad meal yet either since I've been down here.
Well, there are some great places to eat.
Like, seriously.
And
so
some great ice cream.
Yeah, it's so affordable too, which is awesome.
I think the nature around here is wonderful. Living on a boat, I like being outside, and the trees, just the drive down here this time with the fall colors has been incredible. Walking around the square, and then of course the people are super welcoming, and they'll take you anywhere. Going to Blake Street, it's like more about the community than I've seen in a lot of other places, and I really appreciate that. Plus, whoever curates the art in this city is absolutely amazing. It's incredible.
Yeah, we have, I forget how many pieces of public art. There's, I guess, probably closing on a couple of hundred, but over 150, I think. Oz Art is behind a lot of that. Of course, obviously, did you get a chance to go to Crystal Bridges yet? I have to ask that since you mentioned art.
I know. We're going to. It's on the list.
Right.
Before we've been busy with the cohort.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's about 3/4 of a mile walk from where you are. You can go right down the trail. It's not a long trip over there, but you can come back anytime.
Yeah, we planned. I was going to say Omaha, Chicago, and then Bentonville, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You do need 3 places.
Exactly.
The neat part about Crystal Bridges is you can go at any time and go for an hour and then go another day because it's free.
Sure.
You know, you have a world-class art museum that you can just access at
your fingertips.
Anytime they're open. Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay. As we wrap this up, I have one question for you. Yeah. And you can both share a story or you can share one story, but surely over the course of the weeks that you've been here, you've encountered what I'll call a hashtag because Bentonville story. That's a full-blown story or a moment where something happened where you look back and you go, I think that could only happen in Bentonville, or it describes the essence of this place.
Yeah.
Well, I will say before jumping into that, I know I missed some things earlier that I wanted to.
Go for it.
I wanted to inject when we're talking about what makes retail wear different.
Yeah,
and it plays into my Bentonville moment.
Oh, good.
is the fact that what is unique about retail wear is that we've developed this proprietary way to collect data off of product displays without using cameras. And so we're not using cameras. We're not even using an RFID. We're looking at motion, light, distance, with some machine learning on the back end, right, to characterize that and provide insights back to clients. You share that story, you can go to 50 different cities and say, hey, we're developing camera-less technology that can help solve out of stocks and help you create better merchandise, better product displays and improve your merchandising. And I think you can be like, oh, okay, that's cool. Bentonville moment is, here had the opportunity to speak at the 1 Million Cups here. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I've ever had an audience that almost 100% understood. I was almost like, I have not seen more head nodding, out of a community, right? Like we weren't at a trade show for retail, right? We're at a community event and seeing people, and that speaks so much to the power of the ecosystem here. And so that honestly was a moment where just saying and having folks come up to me and say, hey, what if we could use this for asset protection, or what if, I could see this used, and I'm working on this data science project on this, or whatever the case may be. I feel like that could only happen in Bentonville. And that for me was my Bentonville moment.
Excellent.
Sure. I have one. I'm going to talk about the cohort again.
Okay.
Because there's some really smart, powerful people working in the startup junkie cohort and Fuel. And one of the first case studies that was shared when I was in class was something I knew very well. I'm not going to say a name, but it's robotics that basically scanned aisles looking for a solution that we basically provide. So I knew the case study very well. And so I was able to hear some really good insight into what happened and why what was working and what may not have worked well, that I could start to implement immediately and share that story. I was very excited to take that back and kind of share some of my takeaways from that one particular case study. And that wouldn't have happened anywhere else. I'm 100% positive.
I think you combine these two things with the fact that you can bike up the side of the building that we're in, and it doesn't get any more Bentonville than that.
Right, exactly. I realize I lied to you earlier. I said we're 3/4 of a mile from you. I don't think you would walk to Crystal Bridges from where we're sitting.
No,
for some reason, I was thinking about the Ledger building and that we were sitting there. Well, because we've met up so many times there, and I was just there before I came over here.
Such a great building.
3/4 of a mile from Ledger.
Yeah, it's such a building.
And 3/4 of a mile to the top of Ledger. Don't know if that's a coincidence.
All the way around.
That the two things, but there you go. Well, great. Hey, it's been a real pleasure, Keith and Brent, having you on the Bentonville Beacon. I can't wait to share this episode with folks.
Pleasure's all mine. I appreciate it. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Okay, let me introduce you to Kannan Udayarajan, who is the founder and CEO of Siemba, which is based in Atlanta. Kannan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, James. Happy to be here.
Well, glad to have you here. I'd love to, if you could share with the audience about yourself. What should the Bentonville Beacon audience know about you?
I'm an entrepreneur. I'm from Atlanta. I'm in the cybersecurity space. We are here as part of the Fuel Accelerator program run by the Walton family as well as the Arkansas Economic Development Commission. Very excited to be here. Learned a lot over the last 11 weeks. This is the last week, so a bit sad that the program is coming to an end, but a lot excited for what the future holds for us here.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to ask about Fuel here in just a moment. First, let's talk about Siemba.
Yeah.
Who do you serve? What's the problem that you're solving for them, and how do you do it?
So the first question, whom do we serve? It's really anyone with an IT presence, an IT landscape, but more specifically for us, these are B2B organizations which have a customer-facing IT landscape, So those could be web applications, mobile applications, infrastructure, your cloud network, any of that. And the reason why we exist is because this infrastructure, this customer-facing landscape gets hacked. There are bad actors out there, malicious players. And what Siemba does is enable these organizations to test their cybersecurity defenses in a repeatable and a scalable manner. So that's what we do in a nutshell.
Excellent. What some might refer to as pen testing. Is that right?
Pen testing. That's the industry word for it.
Excellent. I'm learning. Well, talk about your experiences with Fuel. What did you expect you were going to get out of Fuel? And then how did it turn out, or how's it gone for you?
Yeah. So this is my very first trip to Arkansas. I've never been here before. And I didn't have any knowledge beforehand about the Fuel Accelerator until we got the emails and until we engaged with the team. But once we started the conversations, the first thing that stood out and caught our attention was that this is an accelerator program that is focused on revenue acceleration, which is unlike anything that we have seen anywhere in the country. So helping an entrepreneur or a startup company get their first few customers, helping them stand up on their own, that's a big thing. And the kind of confidence that gives is just amazing. So that's what kind of caught our attention and led us here. And once we came here, what struck me, outside the program, outside everything else, was the authenticity of the people, the genuine willingness to help you. And the last 11 weeks here, it has been, again and again, I've just seen that play out again and again, and feel really privileged to have spent my time the last 11 weeks here. So in terms of curriculum, the program addresses a lot about enterprise readiness, which is important for startups to learn about and know about so that they can prepare themselves. A lot of the times you're hustling and putting something together, and that may not scale well with a large organization, with a large customer, right? So you need to make sure that you have the fundamentals in place, and those fundamentals are strong and can scale to serve those larger customers. So getting a view into how these large customers think, what they do and why they do what they do, getting that information directly from people who have been part of these large organizations, running huge programs, procuring whatever services, products that they have been procuring, getting those insights has been tremendously helpful. Oftentimes we think only from our angle, hey, this is my product, this is the problem it solves, but what problem does it solve for the customer? And how can it solve the same problem for 10 more customers? And how can you do this in a cost-effective manner, in a scalable manner, so that your customer gets a 5 out of 5 on their performance rating?
That's wonderful. I love that you talked about getting insights directly from the people, the customer, in and of themselves. Many times in accelerator programs, you get some of that, but you get some of that light because, in fact, in most places, it's difficult to get those folks in front of the participants, the cohort in the accelerator programs. In fact, what I've discovered, and having run accelerators myself, oftentimes what you end up with is prior prior cohort members
Yeah.
or other entrepreneurs in front of you. And so it's third-party information, right?
Yeah.
But anytime you can hear from somebody in a large organization, well, here's what we're thinking on our side.
Yes.
And here's what's happening on our side. And here's the problem we're having. You're a step ahead. And I love also, of course, that you
I think
mentioned revenue acceleration.
Just to add to what you just mentioned, James, I think it's the ecosystem, right? And that's what makes Fuel very unique. The curriculum is one part of it, but the ecosystem around it, be it the people who are delivering the courses, or the mentors that have been put around the program, or the general networking events that have been established, so that startups who come here get the opportunity to go out, mingle with these people, and build their own authentic, genuine, like one-on-one relationships. That is just amazing. That I haven't seen that kind of effort in any other program that we have been part of.
Wonderful. That's perfect. Well, and that ecosystem sits inside, of course, a town of Bentonville in a region in Northwest Arkansas that I like to say is unlike any other. I'd love to hear your thoughts on your experiences here, even generally around town. You talked about the authenticity of the people. How about talk about your experiences then, some with Bentonville specifically, and with the opportunities you've had to enjoy this place?
Yeah, the first thing, the day I landed here, the first thing that I learned is that there's this unique weather phenomenon called thunder snow. I had never heard about it before, so that was something new that I learned. I wish someday I'm able to witness it. But I also had this other really unique experience the very same day. So I came here, and the day one itself, I had huge craving for Indian food. I'm originally from India. I had huge craving for Indian food. And I Googled, and I found a restaurant called Veera's Indian Cuisine.
Oh, yeah.
And so I took the Uber, went there, just didn't even look at the menu, ordered what I wanted. And the waiter over there who was serving my food came and asked me, like, where are you from? I said, I'm from Atlanta. And then he said, like, do you know so-and-so from Atlanta? And I said, yeah, he used to be in Atlanta like 5-10 years back. I know that he moved somewhere, but I'm not in touch with him. Oh, wow. And he was a chef in a restaurant there. And like 5 minutes later, the guy I knew from Atlanta walks out with more food on a tray. And it was the same guy that I knew from Atlanta. And he was the head chef at the restaurant here, and they serve the most amazing Indian food. I've been taking every single person from the cohort and whoever I meet and try to set up meetings there. So it's been a great experience, like not just enjoying the food myself, but also being able to share that food with people I have met here, making new friends over food. So that has been a very unique experience. And I never expected that I'd be eating the most amazing Indian food in the US in Bentonville. But that's what, and I keep telling people, and everyone who joined me keeps saying the same thing. So
that's incredible. What a cool story. Gosh, I'm going to ask you another story, but I almost feel like that answers the story. So if you don't have another one, you just tell me that's going to be your hashtag because Bentonville story. But the question I have for you is to tell me a hashtag because Bentonville story. That's something where you look at it and you go, you know what, that could only happen in Bentonville, or maybe it describes the essence of this place. So I'd love to hear another one if you have one.
Well, it is about meeting people. You run into people. And when we came here first, Tom, Darian had mentioned that like everyone here is a leader or an influencer, and like people whom you sit next to the restaurant, they might know people whom you can help you or mentor you, advise you. I thought like maybe that is a bit exaggerated at the beginning when I heard that, but I could not have been more wrong, So I think that serendipity piece, especially for an entrepreneur, is huge here, and I think that's probably very unique to Bentonville because of being what it is, Walmart, JB Hunt, Tyson, and all the suppliers and all the leaders and entrepreneurs who have come here as part of that, build this community. There is a lot of focus on how we can help fellow innovators, how we can help fellow entrepreneurs. And it is not just about bringing in that economic piece to it, but also about, hey, how can we do things better? And how can this city play a leading role in taking that entrepreneurship and innovation forward? I think that is the key message. But if you ask me for a hashtag, it'll be a long hashtag of like serendipity, innovation, entrepreneurship, Bentonville, all of that coming together in one place.
I love that. I love that you said, how can we make things better? I think you're right. That is the question that we're asking here and that we're trying to deliver on. And as an economic developer, I know that if you solve that question, everything else takes care of itself. People just come. And that's what's been happening here as a result.
Yep, absolutely. I know. So before I joined the Fuel Accelerator, I had tried to identify companies that have been part of the program before. And I was able to establish contact with somebody who knew one of the companies. And I couldn't talk with the founder because they had already moved to Bentonville from Atlanta. They had shifted their headquarters and they're like fully based here and doing extremely well. So
yeah, is that Ox?
That's Ox.
And Chari?
Yeah.
Chari's awesome. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much, Kannan. Thanks for coming on the show, and I really appreciate the opportunity to hear your story.
Thank you so much, James. Really love what Fuel has done here for all of us. I can speak for my cohort. Every single one of us is loving it here. We all feel privileged to have been a part of this community, and all of us have plans to be here in some form or fashion in going forward.
Well, as an economic developer, I love hearing that too. Well, thanks. We look forward to helping to continue to serve you and help you build and grow your business.
Yep. Thank you so much, James.
Thank you. How about that first episode of this two-part series about the Fuel Accelerator? I really enjoyed those conversations with founders and entrepreneurs of these companies. Hope you did too. Come back for the second episode in this series. And as always, share with your colleagues and friends around the world. If you found this episode through BentonvilleBeacon.com, you may have noticed that we soft launched a new website recently. And I would love it if you could shoot me a note at first letter J, Bell, Bell, at greaterbentonville.com and share your feedback on the website. What's working, what's broken, what's not. I would love to hear that. And also, if you're checking it out through your favorite podcast player, of course, hit subscribe. Keep coming back to learn more about the greater Bentonville area and the entrepreneurs and business executives and community leaders that are sparking the rise of this place in Northwest Arkansas, where you get more of what you want and less of what you don't. See you next time.